What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Look, these days, when you hear some company's server got slammed into the ground, nobody even blinks anymore. It's like hearing it rained in Seattle. You just go, yeah, okay, whatever. But here's the twist that got my attention. A bunch of middle-aged people, regular folks, not hackers, not bots, flicked their way into crashing an entire server just by showing up. And the reason they showed up, it wasn't for some hot new video app or a game launch. It was for a website called Tianya. And this crash, it threw the entire Chinese internet into a massive, sweaty, teary-eyed group hug of nostalgia. So what exactly got crushed? It wasn't Netflix, it wasn't a gaming server, it was basically an old school BB's forum, think of the earliest Reddit or Craigslist, but with more essays and fewer cat memes. The last time Tanya was a household name in China, honestly, that was a whole generation ago. We're talking about the era of dial-up internet and AOL CDs' ancient history. Now, here's what happened on June 1st after being completely shut down for 3 full years. 3 years, people, the Tianya community officially announced it was coming back. They opened up a few sections with classic articles, just for old users to wander around and feel things. And what happened? A tsunami, a flood, millions of people tried to get in all at once. The new web address went live in the middle of the night. And within minutes, boom, 500 internal server error, dead, crashed, buried by its own fans. One user posted a joke that says it all. If you don't wait a full hour in line, you can't get in. And even if you do get in, you can't get out. So let that sink in. A 3-year-long online memorial service for a dead forum ended in just 60 minutes because too many people showed up to mourn. That's like a funeral where the coffin gets crushed by the crowd. It turned into a blazing hot topic on every Chinese social platform. It became a mirror reflecting how much the online world has changed. And finally, that comeback night ended with Tianya sitting at the top of Weibo's trending topics. Internet nostalgia, guys, is like a drug with a short shelf life that just keeps coming back. You can't kill it. It keeps crawling out of the grave. Now this time, the thing being spammed everywhere wasn't some old podcast or a textbook character. It was Tianya, from Douyin to Baidu Tiaba to Bilibili. You see Tianya discussions, reposts, screenshots, and sad emojis everywhere. But the time when Tianya was a true online library, a real working, breathing library of Chinese internet culture, that was back in the last century. 1999, a library of the Chinese internet. And today, let's be honest, almost nobody goes to physical libraries anymore. Why would they go to a digital one? Tianya's decline didn't happen overnight. It started years and years ago. Way back in 1999 with its super clean, text-heavy design and powerful forum features. Tianya became the face of Chinese language online forums. Back then, the entire internet population of China was only a few million people, smaller than the city of Chicago. For most of those early users, Tianya was their first stop online. It was their front page of the internet, and then came the hits. The best-selling book, those Ming Dynasty things, sold millions of copies, got hyped into existence right there, in the cooking history section of Tianya. And the novel Ghost Blows Out the Light, which became a classic of grave-robbing fiction and spawned movies, games, everything, that started as some amateur suspense writer's little self-indulgent post. Just a guy having fun. And even the webcomic and movie go away. Mr. Tumor spread across the entire Chinese internet starting from a single post on Tianya. Here's the key, and this is important. Tianya was never a creator incubator in the Silicon Valley sense. It didn't have algorithms pushing content. It was a discoverer, a spotter. All those classic works were like folklore first, one-person posts, then a crowd replies, and together they carry that story on their shoulders, cheering it on until it becomes a must-read legendary text. It was like a slow-motion, crowdsourced hit machine. Back then, spending time on Tianya was like hanging out with a bunch of retired old guys in a park. They'd argue for half a day over how to define one single word and to prove a single possibility. Told this historical event have happened differently, they'd fill up entire pages with historical events, citations, timelines, just to back up their point or tear down someone else's. No trolling, no memes, just argument, real argument, and it wasn't just culture and history. People still remember, back in 1999. There was a post on Tianya analyzing the Asian financial crisis and how it related to Chinese internet stock prices. The comments underneath that post built a skyscraper, thousands of replies, and every single reply, people say, made you think, damn, that's actually a sharp. Well, reason take, not a hot take, a cold. Reason take today. The term internet spirit is used to describe some cultural bubble's values. But back in 2004, before mobile web, before phone apps, before iPhones existed, that term was literal. There was a spirit, and it required work. Let me paint you a picture. Back then, to browse a forum like Tianya, you needed a desktop computer, an Ethernet cable or a phone line, dial-up or ADSL broadband, and to endure a waiting period as long as that screeching, screaming handshake sound of a modem connecting. Remember that sound? That was the price of entry. When someone spent a full half hour doing all that boring, annoying technical prep work, then clicked on a 5,000-word article to read, they weren't looking to relax or have a quick laugh. They were looking for something of substance, real value, deep value. In other words, the people on Tianya back then weren't just casually surfing like we do today, hopping from TikTok to Twitter to YouTube in 10 seconds. They came with questions, with curiosity, with a clear, focused purpose. They came to learn and debate. Today, people raised by algorithms, people who have never known a world without Netflix recommending their next show, look at what those old users did and they think out loud. Didn't they feel like that was a huge waste of time? And here's the punchline. The irony is breathtaking. Today we call our time fragmented because every second gets sliced up by notifications, ads, and dopamine hits. Back then, all those inconveniences, waiting for a page to refresh, typing a CAPTCHA, clicking send, waiting for a response, waiting for the next page to load. All of that was a filter, a barrier to entry. If you weren't genuinely interested in the topic, you never bothered, you left. And that's exactly why the signal-to-noise ratio was so high. From 2006 onward, mobile devices started spreading. Slowly at first, then like wildfire. Around 2010, apps for reading articles, looking at images, and watching short videos were everywhere. The smartphone revolution had arrived, and Tianya, what did Tianya do? They just kept building up their defenses on personal computers, clinging to the PC fortress like it was the Alamo. They doubled down on desktop. This kind of missed opportunity is so baffling that it's almost funny. In this story, a site that once dominated Chinese online content creation and then crashed and burned so hard, you see every single classic textbook business error. I mean, this could be a Harvard Business School case study called How to Kill Your Own Forum. Refusing buyout offers, refusing to go public, trying to expand into offline real-world businesses. But let's be real. The core reason for the failure is actually much simpler and much dumber. When everyone else, and I mean everyone, is on the subway, in bed, even on the toilet, heads down, scrolling on their phones for 10 minutes at a time, you, Tianya, insist that they sit at a heavy, clunky desktop computer with a keyboard and type out long essay-style replies. You demand the opposite of convenience. That's like refusing to give up on DOS, the old black screen operating system, and insisting on coding a modern touch-based WeChat mini program in the command line. It's absurd. It's suicide. In 2013, Tianya finally announced a mobile strategy. Finally, they even shouted slogans like 3 screens under heaven, but here's the problem. That's like in the year 2000, some tech giant suddenly announcing they're going all in on the future of pagers, beepers, right? When everyone else is buying Nokia phones during the last golden decade of PC forums from 2010 to 2020, Tianya lost nearly 300 million RMB, convert that, roughly 41 million US dollars. $41 million burned. Finally, they owed so much debt to server vendors that in 2023, the vendors walked in and literally pulled the power plug done, dead lights out, and get this, back in the day, Tianya couldn't even scrape together 250,000 RMB. That's about 35,000 US dollars. Pocket change for a tech company. And now, after coming back from the dead, they want to sell nostalgia memberships for 1,999 RMB each. That's about 277 US dollars per person. Listen to the whole story of Tianya from start to finish. It's like a brilliant poet who's terrible at business. He writes masterpiece after masterpiece, gains a huge following, and then starves to death because he never figured out how to sell a single book. In the first self-rescue action after Tianya got shut down while it was still dark, a few forum admins and longtime users started a 7-day live stream marathon to raise funds for a comeback. They raised exactly 158,900 RMB. Let me convert that, roughly 22,000 US dollars, far, far below the 3 million RMB they wanted, about $415,000. Afterward, everyone said the failure was because people had already forgotten Tianya, out of sight, out of mind, but from a consumer behavior perspective. No, this is a beginner-level case study in how not to monetize user nostalgia. They never clearly explained how that 3 million RMB would save the platform. They didn't line up any investors or sponsors beforehand. People who donated got emotional. That's the Chinese word for resonance. They got the feeling of the platform is coming back. But they got zero concrete answers come back where, what's the user experience going to be like after 3 years of being dead? Who runs the content? Who moderates the forums? Any real promises? Nope, just vibes. It failed not because nobody was willing to pay. It failed because nobody running the show could explain why anyone should keep paying. That's not a nostalgia problem. That's a leadership problem. Now here's where it gets truly weird. And this is the part that made me sit up straight. The real drama happened in the second half of 2024. A company in Chengdu, a city in western China called Tianya Internet Technology, took over Tianya's operations and paid for the data transfer. All those old posts, all those arguments, all those novels transferred to new servers. Then this new company started selling something called new Tianya founder member products. What's the price? 1,999 RMB. Again, about 277 US dollars. Now, for a dead, ancient internet product running on nothing but fumes and nostalgia. That price should kill 99.9% of potential buyers. It's insane. You can get a year of Netflix, Disney Plus, and Spotify for less than that. But guess what happened? A limited run of 10,000 units. And people still wanted them, demand still existed. They didn't sell out instantly, but enough people bought in to prove there's still a market. And here's the kicker that blew my mind. The very first buyer number one, was a young person born after the year 2000, a so-called post-00 generation. Kid, meaning when Tianya originally shut down in 2023, this kid might not have even been old enough to read. He might have been 12 years old. He might not have ever posted on the original Tianya even once. Market researchers don't call these people nostalgic. They call them something else, digital collectible buyers and participatory consumers. Because here's what's really going on. Buying that founder member pack doesn't just get you a fancy user number and a special avatar next to your name. That's the cheap part. More importantly, it gets you a shot at the investment table, hold enough of these equity, let's call them equity packs in English, and you can join a partnership structure that gives you actual shares in the company itself. Real stock, let that sink in from a financial perspective, a forgotten, dead. 20-year-old forum just got resurrected through financial engineering. It's not really a product anymore. It's a gated cultural ticket, a certificate of participation, an old dead BBS forum with no clear future use case. It just got flipped into a cultural participation investment vehicle. In Hollywood, if a studio wants to reboot a franchise, they sell pre-sale tickets and commemorative merchandise. But those tickets never get you a piece of the sequel's profits. Here, you're buying a lottery ticket on the forum's future valuation. 277 US dollars, that's way more than most yearly online subscriptions. That buys you a professional software license or a nice dinner for two or half a plane ticket. The people spending that much to become founder members are making a bet. One bet that this community, if successfully revived, can hold enough cultural influence to pump the value of those memberships on a secondary market so they can cash out later because, let's be brutally honest, paying nearly 280 bucks just for old school browsing rights and chat perks. That's a terrible deal. You can browse Reddit for free. You can argue with strangers on Twitter for free. So why pay? The interesting part isn't just that nostalgia got a price tag. The interesting part is that nostalgia became a developable asset, a financial instrument, from forum collapse to a failed livestream fundraiser, to a new company taking over, to selling memberships that double as stock options. Nostalgia isn't just a feeling anymore. It's been turned into something that can be split, resolved, given a serial number, and potentially appreciate in value. Its value isn't fundamentally different from a retro-designed limited edition bookmark. Except in the market, they're calling it original membership to a co-created community. Fancy words for we're selling you a piece of the dream. Maybe the big, cynical realization for this new company was this. A failed internet product doesn't need to actually die to hold value. It can redefine its relationship with customers by securitizing its own history. Wall Street does this with mortgages. Now, a Chinese BBS forum is doing it with nostalgia. Part 3. In the age of TikTok and mobile phones, who the hell still pays for a BBS? Once nostalgia becomes an investment, the real hard problem surfaces. Let's say you're a user, you buy the expensive membership, you log into the new, shiny, resurrected platform. Now, what do you actually do there? Because the content consumption habits that made BBS forums thrive in 1999 and 2004, those habits are gone. They've been dead for years, buried under a mountain of short videos and algorithmic feeds. You'd spend a full hour climbing through a single thread, reading a water building of hundreds of replies following one argument from top to bottom. It was slow. It was deliberate. You'd scroll and scroll and scroll. Now, open Douyin, which is just TikTok's Chinese twin, in 10 seconds. You can watch 3 completely different comedy skits, a cat falling off a table, and a cooking hack. Boom, boom, no thought required. In the past, to reply to a complex question on Tianya, you needed formatting, bold text, quoted sections, citations, plus arguments and evidence. It took time, it took effort. Today, on Weibo or Twitter or Reddit, most discussions are boiled down to a single sentence, or even worse, just a reaction sticker, an emoji, a GIF. That's engagement now in today's internet environment. Ruled entirely by algorithms and short video, forums still exist in places like Reddit, but they survive as a niche. A shelter for deep discussion, but that shelter in Tianya's case is looking more and more like a historical ruin. It needs a ticket and a tour guide. Not the kind that points out restaurants, the kind that convinces you this place is abandoned, but the stories here are worth your time. Some industry analysts, and I agree with them, point out clearly that the old school forum content ecosystem cannot adapt to modern mobile habits. And listen carefully, this is not a technical problem. Plenty of old forums have modern mobile apps and touch-friendly interfaces. That's easy. The real problem is psychological. In a mobile environment, phone in hand, thumb scrolling, people crave fast switching and instant feedback. Multi-paragraph information is just gone. It's been trained out of them by short video platforms that reward every 10-second dopamine hit with another one. The clash between the user engagement rhythm of the PC era, slow, deliberate essay length, and the fractured, shattered attention span of the mobile era, you cannot fix that with a better user interface. You cannot fix that with a darker dark mode. You are fighting human nature, and human nature has been retrained. Worse than that, BBS forums used to be the only place for certain kinds of user interaction and content monetization. Now they're facing brutal competition for the very social experience itself. Reddit in the English-speaking world, I use it. You probably use it. Reddit has taken over almost every niche topic community. Ask a question about vintage watches. Reddit electricians sharing tips Reddit. Chinese language equivalents like Zhihu have done the same thing in the Chinese world. They've eaten Tianya's lunch. And short video platforms like TikTok and Douyin. They use their massive, insane traffic to steal most general social scenarios and almost all of your daily screen time. TikTok doesn't just compete with other apps, it competes with sleep. So in this brutal environment, rebooting a pure discussion forum like Tianya is a massive high-risk bet on one idea, that enough internet users are still willing to spend real, uninterrupted, quiet time on deep reading and long-term topic discussions, and that they will form a stable core group of creators and fans. And then you run the whole thing on high membership fees and content quality, no ads, no data mining, just subscriptions, looking at existing cases in the US and globally. It's very difficult, but not impossible. There are niche communities, some on Discord, some on private forums, some on specialized platforms that have pulled this off, at least in professional fields like software development, and in cultural fields like classic film discussion, there are replicable models for community growth and paid subscriptions. But for Tianya right now, let's be realistic, the first goal should just be to get stable, working connections. No more 500 errors, then get the original core creators back, the people who wrote those million-selling books and those brilliant analyses, rebuild that original vibe. Use high-quality content to pull in specific niche fans on a regular, predictable basis. Because the community's stickiness and the rational discussion habits from the BBS era. If you can recover even 20% of that, that is worth far more than being a short-term tool for fresh investment cash. Part 4, what the hell are we actually missing? After they crashed the server on that first night back, one user posted a short message, 4 words in Chinese. It just said, see, it's still here. That's not a technical statement, that's an emotional punch. It's like proof of an old saying being forgotten isn't the scary part. What's scary is how you're forgotten slowly, quietly. Without anyone even noticing, I don't think those users were really expressing how essential Tianya was as a website. Let's be honest, the real story is that today's internet environment feels empty. It's a spiritual desert, a content desert disguised as an ocean. Short videos are fun, sure, I watch them too, but between the swipes, between the endless scrolling, between the 10-second dopamine hits, we only get cheap stimulation, cheap laughter, nothing that sticks in your brain for more than 5 minutes, likes and shares, plenty. But almost nobody drops 500 well-reasoned characters into a comment box to explain a viewpoint in detail anymore. Why would you? The algorithm doesn't reward that. The algorithm rewards outrage and speed. We are sitting at the very center of a hyper-connected information web. We have more access to more information than any humans in history, and yet we rarely feel the real joy of sharing deep perspectives anymore. That joy has been replaced by the joy of being first. The joy of dunking on someone, the joy of a clever one-liner. So those old users who flooded into Tianya that night and physically crashed the server, they weren't really protesting for Tianya itself. They were doing a kind of quiet protest through Tianya. They were expressing, whether they knew it or not, a deep, hungry compensatory expectation for the core experience that's missing from today's internet machine. They just wanted, late at night when the house was quiet, to click on a brilliant historical analysis they'd never read before. Spend 20 minutes arguing with the original poster and a tower of commenters about the moral merits of some dynasty or general, or follow a horror story in the literature section and guess the next plot twist with 50 strangers who actually read the same words. This kind of insanely slow, outdated, almost ancient way of communicating. For some people, for a surprising number of people, it provides exactly that immersive, focused, deep content experience that modern digital life has stolen from us. The contrast between this slow, thoughtful rhythm and the fast, angry, swipe-happy modern internet. The fact that the server crashed on the first night is the most obvious, hilarious, and tragic sign that Tianya's value is not dead. It's just buried. So honestly, Tianya's comeback might be more of a social experiment than a real business. An experiment to see how many people using their blazing fast 2026 smartphones and 5G networks can voluntarily time travel back to 2006. To simulate those old interaction habits, to sit still, to read, to write long replies, and to keep that experience going for more than one night. If this experiment works, and that's a big if, it won't prove that old software can be polished up for today's market, that's not interesting. What it will prove is that a part of user demand, long masked and ignored by short video algorithms and engagement maximizing feeds, is still large enough to support a real community, a slow community, a thoughtful community, even if that group isn't the hundreds of millions of users from the golden age of 1999. If they form a core group of maybe a few 100,000 dedicated people who support ongoing operations with their membership fees, then that's a theoretical path forward. Not just for Tianya, but for all old dead communities like it around the world. Regardless of the ending, whether Tianya lives or dies again, this comeback shows us one thing clearly. In this global trend of traffic is king, engagement is God, speed is everything, there is still a small, stubborn, angry, hopeful market of people willing to pay real money for pure cultural meaning, for the meaning of exchange, for the meaning of a slow, thoughtful argument. That market is small, too small to get back into the mainstream, too small to compete with TikTok or YouTube or Twitter, but its size is just big enough to let some seemingly outdated, abandoned, left for dead products survive, not thrive. Survive, Tianya might end up as an online cultural ruin, a digital museum, a tourist attraction for nostalgic millennials and curious Zoomers. But for those who personally witness their own words, their own 15-year-old forum posts, become part of the Chinese internet's collective memory. For those people, that might be the deepest reason they're willing to pay 1,999 RMB, about 277 US dollars for browsing rights to a dead forum, because what they see in Tianya isn't just history, it's the mark of an entire era, an era before likes, before shares, before algorithms decided what you should think, an era when you had to work to find something worth reading. So will Tianya, like so many other faded cultural symbols, slowly turn back into niche talk for a small circle of aging forum users? The answer? It was already written on that first night back. The night the server crashed because too many people showed up not to buy anything, not to watch a video, just to say out loud, see, it's still here. All right, that's the full episode. Thanks for watching. If you want more deep dives into weird internet history from an American perspective, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who remembers dial-up aisle. See you next time.